Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to a continuation special edition of the Fulton Reports covering tonight. We're going to do counts. I'm going to re-go through count one, and then we're going to try and get through 2 and 3 as well tonight. There's 26 in total, and these are all the counts that were ultimately the basis of the Fulton County search warrant. I do have an update on the Fulton County search warrant. There is some movement going on there, and so we'll cover that as well before we get into the report itself. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this. Before we get going, though, I do want to hit up my sponsor real quick for today's show. And let's go ahead and do that. Actually, before we get started, as always, please smash that thumbs up. If you have not done so yet, hit that thumbs up. I'm just a couple people in here right now, but I understand there's a lot going on. Badlands has some stuff streaming. Zach's live right now. So I get it. Hopefully you guys come back and watch, after the show. That'll help me out a lot. Smash the thumbs up, share it out, and all that good stuff. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into my first sponsor of the show. And there you guys go. You guys know that I have been a precious metals a hoarder. I'm a hoarder. I hoard precious metals, everything silver and even gold. I love silver. I take and I stash it away. And, I've said it over and over again that I think silver is a great investment. I love it. But whether you lean silver, gold, or both, you can go both. The issue right now is the purchasing power, and that's the part that people typically miss. Everything costs more. Your groceries, utilities, insurance, and your retirement money, well, it doesn't quite stretch the way that people think it does. A lot of retirement accounts are still tied completely to paper assets, stocks, bonds, dollars, and that's fine until the purchasing power keeps getting chipped away at year after year after year. And then people realize that they're more exposed than they once thought. That's when some people look at gold and silver inside their retirement accounts, not to trade, not to speculate, but just to diversify a portion and reduce risk. If you want to understand how gold and silver IRAs actually work, the rules, the structure, what you can and can't do, there's a company called Augusta Precious Metals that focuses on education first, no hype and no pressure. This stays inside your IRA or 401k, no taxes, no penalties. You're not moving everything. You're learning how this works. If you want to dig into it, click the link in the description below or text CannCon to 35052 to get the free gold and silver IRA guide. Get informed first and then make a decision what's best for you. And you can just go on. There's a link down below. You can fill that form out, or you can just text CannCon to 35052. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of the shenanigans, and it's getting crazy out there. Thank you, Mags. I'm going to pin that to the top. Thank you so much for posting that. Boom, pinned. So I put out a little teaser post. You guys know me. I like to put out the teaser post. All right. Some people give you shit for it, and it is what it is. I put out the teaser post. I'm a teaser poster. And here it is, the next big story. So you guys saw the story I broke last week, the David Perdue, Senator David Perdue grand jury transcript. Well, the next story I'm working on is right here. And I don't know what's in that picture, but I can guess, and I think you guys can guess. And that truck has a 770 area code. I don't know where that area code is. 770. Oh, yeah. Northern Atlanta, Fulton County. It's going to be epic. It's going to be epic. All right. And I'm putting my street cred on this one. Okay. I know I'm putting out the teaser post. Hey, you got to build up some, you got to build up some momentum behind it. You got to build up some anticipation. The problem is you can't be the guy that lets people down. And I don't think I let people down with that last story. I built it up the night before. This one's going to take a couple days. Hopefully the end of the week. Hopefully that's what I'm hoping for. I've got some phone calls and everything that we got to make and get all our ducks in a row. But this one's big. All right. So into the Fulton County updates. And again, you're getting this. Let me make sure that you're getting this exclusive. Well, not exclusive, but you're getting it first here. I think it's actually already been reported. Okay, it's going out. So I will share it with you guys. My newest story from the Gateway Pundit. Again, it's going to publish here in about an hour. Fulton County short by over 40 boxes, according to an affidavit, and the county requests courts order DOJ to return evidence. And I got to make a correction there, so I'm glad I'm doing this in real time. In fact, let's make that correction right now. Let's make that correction. All right, there we go. I made the correction. See? I picked up on an error. I spell check and grammar check and everything, the main body, but never the title. And maybe, I guess they're doing that a little more often. So you guys know the warrant that they requested, or the warrant that they used to seize all the documents in Fulton County, was physical ballots, ballot images, tabulator tapes, voter rolls, and I think some other minor stuff. But that's the gist of it. And all of those things are going to be very difficult for Fulton County to produce. The physical ballots, we have no idea what they're going to hand over in terms of physical ballots. Ballot images, we know that the majority of the ballot images from November 3rd, from the original count, are missing. This is right here in a request for admissions in the Curling v. Raffensperger case, where they said, admit that you did not preserve until the present time the majority of ballot images from in-person voting for November 3rd, 2020 election, original machine count, response, admitted. Okay, so this is, a process you go through when you're in court in a lawsuit. You go through and you do these requests for admissions, and it kind of simplifies the case a little bit. So they've admitted that they don't have the ballot images. The tabulator tapes, we've talked about this before, they only produced 9 of the 0 tapes, and all of the tabulator closing tapes were unsigned and also closed illegally on just 16 machines instead of the original machine. So this is just a rehash for those of you that may not know all this stuff. The voter rolls, I don't know much about, to be honest with you. I really don't. I know that they're corrupt as hell. I know that there's a lot of change of address and all sorts of problems with the voter rolls down in Georgia. But in terms of the scope of the search warrant, I'm not exactly sure the approach on that. My focus on Georgia has mainly been the machines, the mail-in ballots, and that. Although the mail-in ballots will absolutely tie into the voter rolls, right? If they're sending out mail-in ballots under COVID rules and everything, universally, essentially, then that's a major problem. But here's the update. Over the weekend on the 5th, so I think that was Friday? I think the 5th was Friday. No, that was actually Thursday. Wow, I'm slow on this one. Guys. I apologize. Robert Pitts, chairman of the Board of Commissioners, sent a request, an emergency motion for the return of property pursuant to Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 41G, saying that Fulton County, or the United States, the DOJ, the FBI, removed approximately 656 boxes containing the original versions of 2020 election-related materials from Fulton County Clerk of Superior Court, pursuant to Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure under 41G. Petitioner Rob Pitts, chairman of the Fulton County Board of Commissioners and the Fulton County Board of Registrations and Elections, respectfully request the return of all original seized materials and an order instructing the respondent to maintain, but not review, any copies of the seized materials until this matter is resolved. Now, there's a problem with this. In a prior case, Sherry Allen, in her capacity as the Fulton County BRE versus the state of Georgia, the director of the Department of Registration and Elections, Nadine Williams, signed a sworn affidavit saying, quote, Fulton County's 2020 election materials are stored in over 700 boxes, each of which must be opened, searched, and sorted systematically to locate the majority of the documents requested in the subpoenas. So the FBI gets 656 boxes, but Nadine Williams, in a sworn affidavit under oath, said that there's over 700. Let me see if I do my math off the top of my head, but it looks like there's about at least 44 boxes that are missing. They're missing. Now, I point to Dr. Johnston right here. Let's jump over to a post that she had out earlier late last week, saying, thank you, DNI Gabbard, and thank you, AG Bondi. Do not return Fulton County ballots and election documents to Fulton County until they have all been copied, reviewed, and investigated. There's certain things that you can only get from reviewing them in person, physically. And so make sure they're investigated before you hand anything back. Too many questions to answer, Dr. Jan writes. Missing ballot box tabulator tapes, unsigned, non-certified tabulator tapes, missing ballot images, altered ballot image files, missing Shaw files. Now, that's interesting that she says both of these. Missing ballot image files and missing Shaw files. So it's not one and the same, but one ensures that there's no edits or manipulation to the other. The Shaw files ensures that the ballot images are the true and original document, even though Shaw files can be circumvented, gotten around. Missing memory card data, missing absentee ballot envelopes, thousands of double scanned ballots, thousands of double counted ballots, and then my favorite one, more than 700 minus 656 equals almost 50. Almost 50 boxes of election documents that Fulton County did not provide to the FBI. Where are the almost 50 documents that the FBI did not present? Jumping back over to my story, I have that one in there, but there's another post here that Dr. Johnston put out that's very interesting, and I forgot to cite it here. So maybe once again, I should pay attention to what I am doing. And, well, I won't do this one in real time, but I got to make sure that I do it before we get to, actually, you know what? I'm sorry, guys. You're my proofreading crew. So I am actually going to make this quick adjustment while we are in here. And it's simple. I just got to pull that post back up and cite it. I just want to make sure that Dr. Johnston gets full credit for what she said. And there we go. I found it. So now we just copy the link. We go into the back end, not on screen. And we just got to add this hyperlink real quick. Take 2 seconds. 2 seconds. How's everybody doing? If you guys are new in the chat and you guys are new to the show, please smash that thumbs up first and foremost, but also jump in the chat and say hi, where you're from, how you got to this channel, whatever the case might be. And it does help us out a lot with Rumble and everything else. So there you go. Let's go to that post now. Let me see if the update showed up, and it should. And oh, you wouldn't believe this, but I put it in the wrong place. I'm so dumb, guys. I'm so dumb. I apologize. I'm taking precious time. Today's been a crazy day. So Mondays are always crazy for me because it's literally, I go from daily straight into Y Chromes, and then I lose my computer while Christy is doing alphas, make sandwiches. And so I don't get, there we go. Now I got it. I don't get my chance to do any writing. So I put this one together on my laptop, which sucks. And I was finishing the edit here, and I did not get it. So anyways, this is the post that I cite in my article right here. Fulton County Commissioners, pitiful. Pitts, that's Rob Pitts, the chairman, Dana Barrett, Marvin Arrington, and Mo Ivory had no business being in the election warehouse around restricted election documents and ballots. The election documents and ballots do not belong to Fulton County commissioners. Commissioners are not in charge of elections, or are they? Fulton County commissioners were inside restricted areas of the election records warehouse while the FBI was trying to conduct a criminal search warrant. Why did they bar state officials from entering? Seriously. Were the commissioners trying to interfere with or obstruct an FBI investigation? What were the commissioners doing? Were they handling election records or ballots? There were supposed to be 700 boxes of documents. Where are the 50 missing boxes? There was no documentation of who was entering or exiting through back doors of restricted areas. The commissioners need to follow the law. Now, Dr. Johnston did a video with a fellow chairwoman, fellow board member, Sally Grubbs, and they found, they were being kept out first and foremost, but then they had those individuals going in, Pitts, Arrington, Ivory, and Barrett. And they're, obviously the quote unquote lefties on the commissioner board. Bridget Thorne wasn't in there. Is it Sherry Allen, I think, who was the other one? And they're still refusing to seat Jason Frazier, I believe. I believe those are the ones that are missing. But either way, not having the whole board there, but only the ones that are, Donald Trump bad is very, very peculiar. So that's the story that's coming out. One more time, just to tease my article that I'll be working on over the next 4 or 5 days. Very difficult, very hard. Anyone know where 770 area code is from? Anyone want to guess what those papers are? This one is going to blow your mind. And no, guys, you guys got to know that I know my audience is well aware of the shredder trucks and everything else that were in all over Georgia, Fulton County, Cobb County, Gwinnett County. You guys, I know you guys are smarter than that. I wouldn't tease you with, hey, there were shredder trucks destroying ballots. That is so beneath me, guys. You guys know that. When this comes out, it's going to be epic. It's going to be epic. All right. Let's I think we should probably get into this report now. Oh, man, I forgot. I've got my YouTubers out there too. Oy vey. Yep, this is weed, sir. Oh man, you guys are great on YouTube. 770 equals Atlanta, Massive Media LLC. Yes, Atlanta, northern suburbs of Atlanta. Going to be epic. All right. Let's go ahead and pull up the report. I'll get this pulled up here. And for those that are not aware of what we're doing here, I've covered this report now twice, 2 shows so far, 2 shows, and I'll be doing more. I'm going to go through all of it. Now, that's not it. This is it. I showed you guys that was the document that's that Pitts filed. I have all the court filings on that. I'm going to be reading those tonight. Nothing like getting off of work after podcasting and writing and all that all day, and instead of sitting back and relaxing and watching Monday Night Football, because Monday Night Football is gone for 8 months, you get to sit there and read court documents. Yay! So this is the Fulton County Election Oversight Report, January 2026. Report of investigation of the 2020 general election. And because I've been getting a lot of flack from people about citing authors, so I think this one might not have the authors, actually. Yeah, this one does not have the authors, but I'm going to go off the top of my head, the contributors to this. I know we've got Kevin Moncla, Bob Covert, Phil Davis, Garland Favorito, David Cross, Melissa White. I'm forgetting names. I apologize, guys. I will, for the next one, I will use the real report. Well, not the real. This was the real report, but they made like that edit and added the names at the bottom. So I'll use that one for the next time. I promise, guys. And I'll also I'll put out a post here with you guys. So the preliminary statement here is kind of like the overview, like an executive summary type thing. We read this last week. If you guys want to go check that out, I think I did it at the end of my week in review. I do have to cut that. I'm going to cut that out. I think I did cut it and post it as a standalone video. So I'll be doing that if I haven't yet. And then you guys can listen to that. And the executive summary kind of outlines everything that we're going to read through. So here's count one. We read this again. We read this last week, but we'll summarize it again. It doesn't take very long to go through these counts. So we'll go ahead and do it here. Count one, voting system failure and reprogramming of election systems immediately before the 2020 general election. Statement of fact, on September 30th, 2020, the Secretary of State directed county officials to install untested and uncertified software version 5.5.10.32, written the week before on 34,000 ballot marking devices across the state before it was tested or submitted to the EAC as required. To be clear, this was not a patch, but a complete installation of a new and untested software version. And these are the laws that it is alleged to violate: 21-2-374. And then the Georgia Rules and Regulations 183-1-12.03. And then a bunch more, .08 and .083E. All right, summary. During logic and accuracy testing prior to the 2020 general election, a major fault was discovered by 2 counties, which affected all ballot marking devices, BMDs, systems across the state. In response, the Secretary of State directed counties to stop all logic and accuracy testing until a solution could be found. And here's the email from FOIA right here from the Secretary of State. We found out, obtained through open records, but it's from the Secretary of State, and it goes into the Buzz Post, which is kind of like the aggregator of all the, not maggravator, but aggravator of all the election stuff for the county officials. It says a new discussion has been posted. We found out there was an error in the November database, which will require every county to get a new database for the November 3rd, 2020 election. We're working with Dominion to correct the error and to get you new databases as soon as possible. But we don't want you to waste time doing logic and accuracy testing that will have to be redone with a new database. So that's key. They acknowledge that it will have to be redone with the new database. This will not have an impact on any absentee ballot processing. I'm very sorry to have to tell you this. I know that everyone is working as hard as they can to be prepared. We will do everything we can to minimize the delay that this will cause. I'll give you an update on Monday. All right. It says here in the footnote, the remedy required Dominion voting systems to make programming changes to the BMD software and a new software version to be installed in over 30,000 BMDs across the state. Reading on, the Secretary of State's office initially claimed it was a database issue. However, the problem could only be resolved by reprogramming the software for the BMD. This resulted in a new software version, not a patch, that required a complete software installation on each BMD. Yet the Secretary of State tried to conceal that fact. The following email from the Secretary of State's office still tries to claim it's only a database issue. And from Xavier Axaver Harris on September 29th, 2020, to himself, it looks like, A. Harris, Secretary of State. Good afternoon. Here are the delivery locations for tomorrow for pickup of the databases. Remember, the representative meeting the investigator must have proper county ID or a letter from you designating them as your representative. After the issue was raised in the Curling v. Raffensperger case, they admitted that it was not a new database, but a software installation. It says here, this is again in the Buzz Post from the Secretary of State. We have a software solution for the BMDs almost ready to go out. We will do a reverse. I can zoom in a little bit for you guys. We will do a reverse ballot run tomorrow with investigators from our office, members of your office at a designated GSP post or other specified location. The details will be coming directly to you from your liaisons soon, but we want you to know the plan ASAP so you can make the rendezvous tomorrow with your assigned investigator. The solution will come with instructions from CES, that's Center for Election Systems Security. It might be Center for Election Security. That's the, what's the guy's name? It's not Matt Prater. What was the guy's name? Can't think of it off the top of my head. Sorry, guys. I'm usually pretty good on this, but I'm failing you on that. Contact your liaison if you have questions or don't get an update by close of business today. Again, this is not a new database for the election, but a software update for the BMDs. Oh, okay. So you're changing your tune now. Let me zoom out a little bit. The Secretary directed counties to install software, even though it had not been tested or certified by the EAC. On September 30th, the Secretary of State's office distributed the untested software that had literally been written days before, and directed counties to install it. The following is from that directive. First, update your BMDs using the application received today from the Secretary of State's office. Instructions for performing the update can be found in your county folder or on the SOS FTP. The modified software had not yet been tested by a VSTL, voting system test lab, nor submitted to the EAC for certification as required before installation from the October 11, 2020 order of Judge Totenberg in the curling case. They write here, quote, logic and accuracy testing performed on BMDs by 2 counties in the last week of September revealed that the second column of candidates did not appear in some instances. Dominion engineered a software modification as a fix, and within a few days of the Secretary of State began distribution of the new software to counties for installation on all 30,000 plus BMDs before the start of early voting. Dominion submitted its application to the US EAC for approval for the software engineering change on October 5th, 2020, which is, of course, after they'd already begun installing it, and secured the EAC's approval in a one-sentence letter issued on October 9th, 2020. EAC approval was secured after the modified software had been installed throughout the state. It writes here in a footnote regarding where was 8? I think 8 was right. Where was footnote 8? Oh, up here, following the directive. It says a true and correct copy of the Secretary of State's directive is attached as evidence. Okay. The EAC requires any software change to be tested and approved before it's installed. This requirement is so strict that not even operating system security patches or drivers can be installed without first seeking EAC approval. Very interesting. Okay, let's keep going here. Guys, again, smash that thumbs up. If you have not done so already, we got 50 thumb smashes out of 144 people. That is badass. Let me pull up the YouTube real quick so that I can track my YouTube comments as well, because I am going to take breaks and jump into comments because it's a lot of reading to do without having, a moment to gather my thoughts sometimes. So, man, YouTube is actually smoking right now. 110 watching. That's huge for me on YouTube. YouTube has been awful to me since I got my account back. Although the last month, subscriptions have gone up, which is awesome because, since I came back, I lost like a couple thousand. 12-pack says, I love my wife. I love my wife as well. I just don't like my wife having her name on my StreamYard because she changes it for Alphas Make Sandwiches. So, I'm checking out the Johnny Strayhorn says, you got to know old school chat to catch the Maggravator joke. Mags is over on is on Rumble, guys. Mags watches on Rumble. Mags, they're calling, I think they're calling you old in the YouTube chat. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just kidding. But they're OGs from the original days, man, before Badlands, before YouTube bans and all that, when we were calling this Dominoes and pizzas and ballets and all the stuff, all the code words that we had to use. In hindsight, pizzas was probably a bad one, given all the Epstein stuff that's coming out and Pizzagate and everything else. But, it is what it is. We didn't do it mischievously. Me and Behizzy and Nick and Neil and all those guys, we were good actors. All right. So let's jump back in. What goes? Oh, okay. Let's jump back into the count 2. So that's count 1. So count 1 is basically they installed. Let me summarize because there's a little bit of the story that's missing here. So here's how that story went down. They realized that they were missing the ballot, that there was a problem with the primary being run or the election when they did the logic and accuracy, and not all the state Senate choices or the U.S. Senate choices were showing up on the same page. And that's a law or rule. I think it's a law, actually, that they all have to be on the same page. It's equal access kind of thing. And so they had to make this change. And of course, curling case is going on. And curling said, no, you can't make a change right before an election. There's certifications and all sorts of things that have to be done. So Dominion is brought into court. And, J. Alex Halderman was the expert witness that said even, de minimis updates to systems can be detrimental. Like can have big impacts. And so Jack Cobb, who was the president of Pro V&V, was supposed to be testifying on behalf of the testing lab as that this was de minimis, but they deferred, Jack Cobb deferred to Eric Coomer to testify on behalf of Dominion or on behalf of the testing labs. And Eric Coomer was the president, I think the senior vice president of security and testing or something for Dominion at the time. I don't remember the specific title, but he was in charge of security and all that stuff. And Coomer testified that it was a de minimis update and that, it shouldn't need testing. Well, Judge Totenberg ended up allowing it to go. And it turns out it was a lot more than a de minimis update, according to this report. It was an actual new software write. And so it's interesting how that was permitted to happen, but it was. So here's count 2. Fulton County utilized voting systems for advanced voting that had not been tested for logic and accuracy as required by Georgia law. Again, this is another one that I've talked about many times on my shows. I've written articles that this never happened and that Dominion was actually contracted to come in and run logic and accuracy testing to the tune of $2 million without, as far as I know, without any official approval or anything as well. So very interesting there. Statement of fact: after the discovery of the voting system's failure detailed in count 1, logic and accuracy testing was suspended pending resolution of the problem. After the new software was installed, Fulton County did not perform the logic and accuracy testing on the voting equipment utilized for advanced voting. This is in violation of OCGA 21-2-374 and Georgia Comps and rule regulations 183-1-12-0.08. I'm sure there's some others. Yeah, 0.02, 14.02. So yeah, here's the summary. Many counties, including Fulton, failed to test the election equipment before it was deployed and used for advanced voting, which began on October 12th in violation of Georgia law. Federal Judge Amy Totenberg included the following in her October 11th, 2020 order in Curling v. Raffensperger as it pertains to the specific logic and accuracy testing requirements as prescribed by Georgia law. And then it's number 4 here. Logic and accuracy testing, pre-election logic and accuracy testing, is an important operations verification practice and standard in jurisdictions across the nation that use any form of computerized voting equipment. The language of Georgia's 2019 statutory provision appears transparent. Either county superintendents shall have each electronic ballot marker machine, BMD, and its components tested to ascertain that, quote, it will correctly record the votes cast for all offices and on all questions and produce a ballot, end quote, for such offices. This provision was adopted simultaneous to the legislature's enactment of OCGA 21-2-300, authorizing the Secretary of State's mandatory statewide implementation of the BMD system. In essence, that statute defines the pre-election standard operational verification process required to implement the BMD system specified in OCGA 300. Quote, the ballot scanner shall not be approved unless it produces an errorless count. If any error is detected, the cause thereof shall be ascertained and corrected, and an errorless count shall be made before the ballot scanner is approved. And then it goes on to say, quote, if any component fails any of the testing, the component shall not be used in a primary election or runoff until such unit is repaired and inspected and found capable of proper functioning and passes logic and accuracy tests, end quote. Think about that, guys. Not only do we have black box votings machines where we can see in no way, shape, or form, we see the how the sausage is made, so to speak. We can't see the source code or any of that stuff. But they're not even doing the logic and accuracy testing that we're told is supposed to make this whole thing safe. The whole thing is a complete and utter sham. Reading on, plainly stated, there's no lawful path for the utilization of untested election equipment as was used in Fulton County for advanced voting in the 2020 general election. A formal complaint has been filed with the state election board for failure to perform the testing and is pending investigation. So let's take a pause right there for 1 second. I will be right back on camera. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. One of the mustache hairs was tickling my nose, and it was making me like on the brink of having to sneeze. You can see my eyes are watering. So there we go. All right, so we'll get into count 3 in a minute, but the logic and accuracy testing, again, is very interesting, especially considering the next portion here where it sounds like they anticipated not having the logic and accuracy testing completed and would therefore have to conduct a machine a hand-marked paper ballot election. But they never got to that because, well, we all know why. But yeah, it's really, really interesting. Let's go ahead and hit a sponsor real quick, and then we will get back into the show. We'll get into count 3. But let me tell you guys about a Valentine's Day sponsor. And honestly, this is a no-brainer. Chicago Steak Company, code HEART26. That's HEART 26. Look, you could fight for a reservation at some overpriced restaurant, sit there surrounded by strangers, rush through your meal, or you could stay home and cook together and have a way better experience. These are USDA prime steaks, hand-selected, wet-aged for up to 40 days, restaurant quality, delivered right to your door. Here's the deal. It's the last week for free Valentine's shipping. Orders of $199 or more using code HEART26, and you'll get $145 in free gifts. You'll get 2 Maryland crab cakes. Oh, so good. 6 Italian chocolate pastries. And of course, you'll get free shipping. So you've got an appetizer, a main course, and dessert done. Cooked perfectly. You got to cook it, but you'll get it cooked perfectly. Go to mychicagosteak.com/heart26 and use promo code HEART26. That's HEART26. The link is in the description down below. Man, treat your lady right for Valentine's Day. Or if you're a woman, treat your husband right. Treat your husband right. Right? Gotta love it. What did Claire Cat say? Oh my God, so sorry, CannCon. That's what I get for trying to watch 2 things at once. What'd you do? I don't know what you did, but it's okay. I forgive all. I understand a lot of people are going to go watch Badlands live. That's cool. That's cool. I'm still putting this out there. You guys can come back. It's going to be here forever. It's not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. Let's go ahead and jump into part 3. Ghost does a great show with that Book of Trump, man. Ghost is awesome. Love that guy. All right, let's jump into count 3. Fulton County's order of over 1 million extra absentee ballots without stubs or envelopes. Statement of fact, Fulton County ordered 1,058,910 absentee ballots at the last minute, without envelopes, without stubs, and after they could have realistically been mailed. The quote-unquote extra ballots were not ordered for the reasons given, and what ballots from the order that remained after the election were destroyed. For reference, a total of 528,777 ballots were cast for the 2020 general election, and of those, only approximately 148,000 were absentee, the majority of which were sent by Runbeck Election Services directly to the voter. Potential violations of law. Now, this is one of the few that there is no potential violation of the law. The surreptitious ballot order itself was not unlawful. However, it potentially goes to means, method, and opportunity, as further detailed in the subsequent counts, and is important to consider in overall scope, potentially an overt act. Summary: on October 16th, 2020, Fulton County ordered over 1 million extra ballots without stubs. To be clear, the ballot orders at issue are in addition to and separate from the absentee ballots mailed to voters. Fulton County's 2020 general election included a total of 528,777 ballots cast for all types of voting, and of those, 148,318 were absentee. All known plausible reasons for this order have been eliminated. First, Fulton County had no reason to order the massive number of absentee ballots, which were delivered to their English Street warehouse. Man, that place is a hotbed. I would love to have been a fly on that wall during the 2020 buildup. because the ballots could not and did not arrive in time to be mailed. What's more, despite Miss McGowan, that's the Secretary of State's general counsel, despite Miss McGowan's testimony to the contrary, counties did not physically mail absentee ballots to voters except for the few days leading up to Election Day. It says in the footnote, it's also important to note that counties were responsible for late requests for absentee ballots, and Fulton County printed the absentee ballots for those requests, which numbered less than 10,000. Okay, less than 10,000. So let me read that again with that context. What's more, despite Ms. McGowan's testimony to the contrary, counties did not physically mail absentee ballots to voters except for the few days leading up to Election Day. Less than 10,000. With the only exception of Gwinnett County, all of the other 158 Georgia counties opted in to a program facilitated by the Secretary of State in which Runbeck Services, subcontracted by Dominion Voting Systems, would print and mail absentee ballots directly to the voter. And here's that open records request for a small fee of $1.40 per ballot. Okay. This was something that was relatively new to me. Again, it may have been something. I get a lot of election stuff that, I joke, and it's only kind of in passing, but I joke around that I've forgotten more about elections than most, journalists know about our elections. And I'm not talking about the election specific ones. There are some incredibly talented and knowledgeable journalists out there that are covering the elections. I'm talking about general mainstream media and the bullshit that they feed us, right? Well, anyways, I was reading the chat. I wondered why you were thanking Zach on Brian's show. Oh, that's what it was. Thank you very much, Zach and Lisa, for an awesome Monday episode. I gotcha. I love Zach. Lisa's awesome too. So you can thank them here. There you go. This was new to me that Runbeck sent them directly. They did the same thing in Maricopa. The only difference is in Maricopa, when you mailed them back, they went back to Runbeck, and that's concerning. That is crazy, man. Runbeck would have access to all ballots, Georgia ballots in Arizona. Yep. I think those ballots at Sky Harbor to Georgia is part of that. Sky Harbor, man, it's a long time since we mentioned that. Yeah, again, smash the thumbs up, guys. Let's get back into it. Because of the absentee ballot fulfillment program, there was simply no reason for Fulton County to purchase a large number of printed ballots. Fulton County then tried to conceal the order. This is shocking to me, this part right here. Okay, this part, again, this is something I didn't know. And I was the first person to report on this story. As far as I know, I believe I was. I know the people that did the request had spoken with me, and I think this, well, I don't want to misattribute the people that did this request, the authors of this document. We'll just leave it at that. But this was something that I, again, don't remember being told, and definitely should have included this in my writing. Fulton County then tried to conceal the order and denied the existence of corresponding documents. In response to a narrowly targeted open records request, Fulton County returned no responsive records. Oh, it was Kevin. Okay. I didn't want to misattribute it to Kevin if it wasn't Kevin. It was Kevin. Okay. So Kevin Moncla writes, quote, "This correspondence is in response to your open records request." Excuse me. They sent this back to him. Is in response to your open records request, asking for, please provide any and all correspondences with or about Runbeck Election Services. Please provide any and all documents, invoices, purchase orders, quotes, or any documents related to or from Runbeck Election Services. They respond, no responsive records. That is about as thorough a, so when these people do open records requests, they go in there and they search keywords, and you give them keywords. So Runbeck Election Services would be a keyword, right? And then you would search out of that, you would search for orders, quotes, and any documents related. So basically it's the any documents related is kind of like the grandfather, or not the umbrella clause, right? Everything is under that umbrella. And so they should have had documents. They didn't. So the report reads on, it wasn't until we provided Fulton County's accounting code for the invoice, the funding line, and the invoice number that Fulton County acquiesced and finally produced the records. And there it is. The records right there, the receipt. So it has Rick Barron, Director of Elections, Fulton County Department of Voter Registration and Elections. It's got Runbeck. It's got, it's signed by Runbeck Election Services. These are all keywords that would have hit in a search, but they didn't produce these records until he got specific. Once he got specific, they said, oh, shit. They said, oh, shit. He knows something. We better give this to him, or we might be in up Shit's Creek. And I'm just a person that's processing these requests, probably a secretary or something. I'm not going up Shit's Creek for these crooks. I'm not covering this up. And so they acquiesced and they sent this invoice, and we found out this shocking purchase that they made. $223,000 for 770,000 Fulton County ballots, 18 inches. I had previously stated that, I think I might have said on a show that I've heard the explanation that perhaps the ballots were for other counties as well, and they just centralized them to Fulton because that's the capital, Atlanta. And then from there they dispersed them. That's not true, because it says right here, Fulton County ballot, 18-inch, no stub, boxed and sorted by precinct, slip sheets inserted every 100 ballots. Oh, how very, very conveniently nice of them. Price quoted to Atlanta to arrive on or before October 24th, 2020. Again, that's not enough time to ship those ballots out. The election is only 10 days away from that point. Here's another one that they ordered. This one's from a company, Fiddler, in Florida, in Orlando. And this was for, I think this was 144,000 ballots, 665 test deck ballots. Why are you ordering test deck ballots on October 31st? October 31st, 4 days before the election. It's crazy. Second, the number of additional absentee ballots ordered and received far exceeded the total number of Fulton County's registered voters, including both active and inactive. According to the EAC, Fulton County's total number of registered voters for 2020 was 836,563, or 113.8% of the citizen voting age population. Did I jump? No, I didn't. 1.058 million ballots is 126% of the total number of registered voters in Fulton County. Georgia law does require the county to have emergency ballots on hand, but only in an amount equal to 10% of the total number of registered voters. That's 83,000 ballots, not 1.058 million. Fulton County was required to have 83.656 emergency ballots available, not over 1 million. It's almost like I should read this and just save my commentary till the end. Georgia's absentee, provisional, and emergency ballots are indistinguishable. The same ballot serves all three purposes, which is ripe for exploitation. And it says absentee, provisional, emergency. So let me see if, okay. In other words, emergency ballots could be used nefariously and injected or cast as regular absentee ballots. Aside from the absurd number, we also know that the ballots at issue were not procured to meet the statutory requirements cited above, because emergency ballots were required to be available when the polls opened for advanced voting on October 12th. The ballot order was placed on October 16th, and the ballots were explicitly ordered with no stubs. Emergency ballots are required to have stubs for tracking purposes and to prevent them from being used nefariously, as veteran Fulton County poll manager, now county commissioner, Bridget Thorne, explains. I feel like that might have been lifted from an article I wrote about this, because I think I wrote that like verbatim. Maybe not. I don't remember. I don't know. So Bridget Thorne is awesome. Okay. I've interviewed her a couple times back in the day, and she's kicking ass in the Fulton County Board of Commissioners. She takes no shit. Nonpartisan woman, isn't like, she's not like full-blown MAGA or anything like that, but she's common sense. And as a poll manager for 9 years, she knows some things. And so she put out on X or Twitter, because it was actually Twitter back then. Yes, I called a neighboring precinct and they were missing theirs as well. Well, she says the stub, and they were missing theirs as well. Did you notice that the Runbeck invoice, ballots with no stubs? Why would you order emergency provisional ballots without the tear-off stubs that are needed for record keeping? Dangerous, no accountability. The stubs number the ballots. When a ballot is used, the manager keeps the stub to verify that it was used. The ballot then becomes anonymous for the voter. With no stubs, there's no accountability of used, unused ballots. Why would anyone order no stub ballots? Commissioner Thorne's question is one for which we have been unable to answer. And so I submit to you, why would Fulton County order emergency/provisional ballots without the tear-off stubs needed for record keeping? Gabriel Sterling purportedly suggested that the ballots were ordered in case there was a ruling in Curling v. Raffensperger pending at the time, which could have prevented the BMDs from being used in the 2020 general election. However, Judge Totenberg issued an order October 11th stating that the court would not enjoin the use of the machines, meaning they could go ahead and use them. The polls opened the following day on October 12th for advance voting using the BMDs. The ballots were ordered 5 days after the ruling and 4 days after the election had opened. The date of the court order preceding the date of the ballot order removes any possible injunction as cause for the order. So in other words, Gabe Sterling said, hey, we might not be able to use the machines, so we got to make sure we have these emergency provisional ballots on hand. But the election had already been running for 4 or 5 days when they placed the order. And the judge had already ruled in federal court, she's not going to stop you from using the ballots. So why did they order these? Now, Gabe Sterling had given, I think in response to me, actually, I wrote it in my article. Let me see if I could pull that article up real quick. Let me see if I can find this real quick, because I'm pretty sure that one of the responses from Gabe Sterling was actually in response to me. Nope, that's not my article. It might be this one. I might have written it recently. I'll share this screen. Sorry, guys. Yeah, see, here it was. This was actually in response to me. I wrote, they ordered 770,000 ballots. I don't know who wrote this original post. It was deleted. I have the receipts, and this was, look at the old, remember the Ahsoka Tano Darth Vader background in my old Heel PR40 microphone? Back when my beard wasn't completely gray. It's pretty gray now. Pretty gray. I could probably, whatever. I know the OGs remember that, but here's Gabe Sterling's response to me. They got hit by COVID. They was concerned they couldn't do logic and accuracy testing of the equipment. As a plan C, they ordered enough emergency ballots in case they had to do hand marked at all polling locations. They didn't. The ordered ballots were known and in view all at the time. Horrible grammar, Mr. Sterling. But yeah, just to point that out again, they were concerned they couldn't do logic and accuracy testing of the equipment. They'd already been voting when they made the order. They'd already been voting when they placed the order. That argument holds no water. And I think, let me check. Did I okay. So here's his response. So I didn't make the case that they had already been voting, but I said, do they have the sealed envelopes of all the unused envelopes? This doesn't look very secure. And he said they are literally in their boxes, and those images are from October. Well, let's get back into the report and see what they got to say about this. All right, back into the report. Sterling also claimed that the ballots were ordered. Okay, I did that. The ballots were ordered on October 16th after the untested machines were already in use. Just as explained before, emergency ballots require stubs regardless of the emergency. And those pictures look familiar. I almost feel like I just had those pictures up. It is important to note that no other counties are known to have ordered an excessive number of absentee ballots, and both of Gabriel Sterling's excuses would have affected the entire state. The undersigned confirmed with both Cobb County and Gwinnett County, the state's second and third most populous counties, who did not order any absentee ballots in excess of the 10% of registered voters required by law. Of course, Georgia law requires an accounting of emergency ballots. That's so important right there. Georgia law requires an accounting of emergency ballots. The poll, and to be fair, it's a regulation, not a law. Still, it's required. The poll manager shall store all emergency ballots in a secure manner and ensure that all used and unused emergency ballots are accounted for. All unused emergency ballots shall be placed in a secure envelope and sealed such that the envelope cannot be opened without breaking such seal. Now, here's where it gets mind-blowing. Lastly, there's the massive number of ballots. Fulton County inexplicably ordered 1.5058 million, or enough to replace 80% of all absentee ballots cast for the entire state of Georgia in 2020. In yet another surreptitious act, only days after an article detailing the suspected ballot order was published, Fulton County issued a public notice stating that they would be destroying the quote-unquote excess ballots imminently. And here's the post right here. The Fulton County Elections Department has asked the Secretary of State's office to assist as it prepares to properly discard 284,901 unused emergency provisional paper ballots. The quantity of the ballots is the result of two separate orders. The first involved ordering emergency provisional ballots, which are always used for Election Day. Additionally, election officials also ordered backup ballots to be used if the county needed to switch to paper ballots due to COVID-19. Per the election code, counties are allowed to discard unused paper ballots 30 days past the election date. However, in an effort to remain transparent in its processes and to reduce the spread of misinformation, the DRE extended the move to discard the ballots to 1 year past the presidential election, Friday, November 12th, 2021 at 10 a.m. The notice states that there are only 284,901 emergency ballots remaining, but Fulton County ordered 1.058 million emergency ballots. In the notice, Fulton County claims the emergency ballots were ordered as a contingency plan and were never needed. If that were true, according to Fulton County's own numbers, 773,309 absentee ballots are unaccounted for. Fulton County's actions in destroying the ballots were a direct result of the unjustifiable ballot order becoming public. This is established because the notice attempts to address details which were raised in the article. This indicates that when Fulton County made the decision to destroy the ballots, they knew that the ballot order was being questioned, and with good cause. The duty to preserve evidence arises when litigation is reasonably foreseeable, even without formal notice of a claim. Any reasonable person would believe that the investigation and or litigation was forthcoming, triggering the duty to preserve the records. Instead, Fulton County chose to destroy the evidence. Because a conflicting number of ballots were said to be destroyed, the physical ballots themselves can no longer be consulted to determine the number remaining, and more importantly, the number missing. Fulton County's efforts to conceal the suspect ballot order, the timing of the ballot order, the illogical massive number of ballots ordered, and the facts that ballots were ordered with no stubs, and the destruction of the ballots raise very serious questions. Let me read that again. That's a long sentence. Fulton County's efforts to conceal the suspect ballot order, the timing of the ballot order, the illogical massive number of ballots ordered, the fact that ballots were ordered with no stubs, and the destruction of the ballots raise very serious questions. You put all of that together into one sentence, and it's like, what the bleep? What the F? A massive number of absentee ballots were ordered for no justifiable reason and could have been and likely were used to manipulate the 2020 general election. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will take us on to count 4, which we will get to very soon, very soon. Now, I do want to, before we wrap up here, I do have some announcements to make, a huge announcement, okay? Tomorrow night, I am excited about this. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m., I will be interviewing Travion Cuddy, or Cutie. I got to ask her for clarification because I think I've heard her say cutie, and I think I've heard Harrison say Cuddy, and it looks like Cuddy. But Travion is going to be coming on the show. Travion is the woman that was involved in the investigation into State Farm. We'll just leave it at that. And I found out through a segment that I did on InfoWars last week with her. She was on it. I wasn't on it with her, but she was on it before me. And I was listening in the background before my time came up. And she's got a story to tell, and she needs a place to tell it. And so I'm going to be interviewing her tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to tune in for that. It's going to be awesome. I'm so looking forward to it. And yeah, I think that's all I've got on upcoming stuff. Again, I'll be doing more of these, and you know, we'll get into more of these. I do want to hit another sponsor real quick before I go to closing thoughts, and I think there's a couple rants. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about our next sponsor. Guys, they can freeze your accounts, they can shut off your cards, they can lock you out of your own money overnight. Banks don't protect you, they control you, and that's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold. This isn't an IOU. It's real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet, peer-to-peer, and outside the banking system. No permission, no middlemen, no cancel button. This wallet is yours forever. So check it out, guys. Link is in the chat right there. Got a couple rants here, I think. I know do for sure. I think there was one more. I might have missed it, though. I might have missed it. Oh, man. I swear there was another rant, and I did not pull out the API because I'm not used to getting rants on this channel because we don't have, you know, quite as many listeners as we do on Badlands. But apparently I did miss it. So, or maybe I'm dreaming it. I don't know. Do says, I do remember that Ahsoka background. Thanks for continuing the election integrity grind. Trump ought to hire you as a consultant. You know, I've said for a long time, I would love nothing more than to be able to kind of manage or oversee the election investigation. You know, I'd be nervous as hell working for the president, but I'd be honored to do it. But then again, if I do that, who's going to write about it? You know, I mean, I have a network of writers too, but I have a big network of people in elections, you know, going back for the last couple of years. You know, a lot of the people that I've worked with, I was the guy that was like, hey, can you get me in touch with so-and-so? And I was like, oh yeah, I know them. I've talked to them a few times, and reach out, get them in contact. And yeah, but yeah, I wasn't going anywhere, after I saw 2020, I can never unsee it. And I'm in this fight until the end. I just don't know what the fight's going to look like when President Trump is no longer here. I don't know what it's going to look like, but somebody's going to have to pick up the torch, and I volunteer as tribute if need be. Volunteers tribute. All right, guys. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all being here. Please, again, smash that thumbs up. Share the show out. Go back and watch the first one. I'll get a standalone episode of it posted here pretty soon. I've got some little short rants that are going out on YouTube if you want to share those out as well. And again, tomorrow night, set your alarms, 8 p.m. Eastern. Set the notification bell here. Travion Cutie will be joining, and looking forward to doing that interview. It's going to be awesome. Stay frosty. God bless each and every one of you. God bless America. Make the fortune cookie country pay for this.